Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. We're with the famous rapper Eminem, Milbillie and Mark.
Yeah, I think Milbillie fits that descriptor better than me. So, and by the way, Mr. Capaldi, I'm still annoyed you're leaving another T off my name. I don't know what that is.
Have I done it again? It's my predictive text that does that.
You're shortchanging me a T.
Yeah. So, I will.
So,
I will. I will edit that.
And you know how us British sort of related citizens enjoy our tea. So I'm not. So just take a leaf out of my descriptor on the screen there. So anyway, good evening to you, and good evening to you, Mr. Milbillie.
Good evening. Good morning for me.
Yeah. How early is it for you?
It's 7 a.m.
Yeah.
It's a little after 10 for me, 10 p.m. on Tuesday evening.
I've also only had like 4 hours of sleep in 2 days.
Yeah, burning the candle at both ends there.
Yeah.
Right, corrected. Okay, 2 T's.
Thank you very much.
2 sugars, 2 T's.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start off with you, Mark. The filing, the discovery of this witness, was it what you were expecting when we saw the tweet Sunday evening? And I first saw about it on Milbillie's video early Monday morning. Was it what you were expecting?
I guess structurally it probably was, because you think about Kathleen Zelda made a very clear statement that she said that she now knows who brought the RAV onto the property, and that she was going to reveal it. So that's a statement of fact. That wasn't just a general statement. So I'm thinking, well, what form would that take if she was going to let that be known? Well, given the status of Stephen's appeal, I would have thought that was going to take the form of some affidavit. And because she was waiting till Monday to tell us, I also thought maybe that would be something that she would want to put in on the record, which would mean making a filing. So structurally, that didn't surprise me, but some of the content did a little, I should hasten to add, which I'll come back to in a moment, but perhaps you might want to have a quick chat to Milbillie about how he first reacted to it.
Yeah, Milbillie, same question. Was it what you were expecting or anticipating?
No, not at all.
I mean, I must admit there was a lot of speculation that it was.
Part of me thought maybe she got access to the flyover video.
Right.
No, I mean, it could have been anything. And I thought maybe I found out the other day that Colborne had filed for divorce with his wife the same day as his mediation hearing. I thought maybe that might have something to do with it. So, yeah, I didn't see this coming whatsoever.
I mean, the same for me. The actual detail of what was in both the motion, I guess that's what you call it, and the affidavit, I was surprised by that. I didn't have any idea what that might be. The idea of the car being brought onto the Avery property in the way that was described in the motion surprised me. And that led to a lot of other deliberations for me about past matters on the record and how they fitted with what this new evidence. Am I going to just make the assumption, for the sake of this discussion, that the new evidence is valid? And that's a reasonable assumption to make, I think, given that we're dealing with Kathleen Zellner, who's demonstrated how thorough she is. So I don't think she would be putting this out unless she's done her homework to make sure what she's asserting is in fact true. That wouldn't be Kathleen Zellner like. So on the basis that, at least for the moment, that what she's asserting in this is true, then it caused me, and I'm sure thousands of others, to contemplate a number of issues, both going forward and looking back at past stuff.
Well, it's just like when the Ramlo came forward, he had text messages to back up what he was saying.
Yes.
what else does she have besides just the guy's word?
Well, we don't know that,
I know.
and so you can speculate till the cows come home. And all I can presume is that Kathleen Zollner has done her homework. She's not the sort of person, at least by my way of seeing stuff in the past, that's reckless about things like this. So I suspect there's a lot more she's aware of that are not presently in the public forum.
I'd be interested in what day this guy did call, what time he called, because then you could pinpoint which dispatcher was working.
Oh, you mean in terms of his
And
calls about seeing?
Yes, when he says he called Manitowoc, which number did he call? Because there's three numbers, and we only have audio from two of them, and it's not in full. There's only 72 calls through the 3rd and the 12th, and there's no audio for the 4th, and for the 3rd, it's only 10 calls. Why, like, we get Calumet's audio, it's in full. There's all kinds of calls coming in. Somebody calls in about the bank deposit box being open. Somebody calls in because there's a deer wandering in the parking lot. Why don't we have calls like that?
Yes.
Why don't we have calls about this deer being struck on the 4th? That should be on. We don't have no audio for the 4th whatsoever.
Well, and one based on, just to follow what was mentioned in the affidavit, this event occurred that he's observing and reporting on occurred on the morning of the 5th of November. Mm-hmm. So, but we don't know when he called.
And the paper he was delivering that day, cover story, was the Teresa Halbach case. Yeah. So every paper he delivered that day, we can't say he didn't look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that's what I mean, Milbillie and Paul. I think there's a lot of other micro stuff that I'm sure exists that we're not seeing just yet. So, but when I say I'm sure, I don't know that by saying definitively, but I just say it as a consequence of knowing Kathleen Zollner is very thorough in what she does. So the sorts of questions we're asking ourselves, she would have undoubtedly asked herself when she got this representation made by this guy. So
my first questions are, what does this mean with the Siebert incident? Yes. And then her filing about the flyover video and tracks in the field. Like, I don't know. It just, I don't know.
I mean,
it's got my head running in circles.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Just, I don't know.
Can I just say something from the beginning? And others may feel this way or others may not, but I've always been a strong advocate to the presumption of innocence. So I want you to keep that in mind in anything I say. And that's why I said right at the beginning, I'm just going to assume without hopefully compromising that presumption that this information is valid. Okay, so then if I can go to the question of Mr. Siebert, and I thought about that, and I thought, well, maybe, because we do know with a high degree of certainty that car was sitting there at the East Twin Rivers Bridge. Yep. Is that what it's called? Yep. Near the dam. We know that it was sitting there on the 3rd and possibly the 4th, which is Thursday and Friday. And I think if I've got my timeline right, we believe Mr. Siebert's reporting was on the afternoon of the 4th when he saw those vehicles move in. So I'm thinking, okay, how does that fit in? Vehicles going around the back of the Avery salvage yard, if I can call it that. They may have first tried to put it in there and found it difficult to do so, or they may have taken the vehicle around just to hide it away from the highway where it had previously been.
Well, it's like Verdant, his affidavit, he suggests that they found her car somewhere else in the quarry and then moved it on.
Yeah. So to try to make the Siebert story fit is that what Mr. Siebert, his story is still the same. He saw 2 cars go in, 1 car come out. It's just what we've added, we being the interested public have added the story that's when they planted the car, but that may have been just when they were hiding the car and later on came back and got it and brought it in the way that's been described in this affidavit, if in fact that's correct. So I can see how the Siebert story still fits the narrative.
My next question is, why are they pushing the car for one? Where
Yeah.
are they pushing it from? And
Which direction?
based on his affidavit, when he pulled onto Avery Road, they weren't there.
Well,
So
they had to.
he must
No,
have drove down Avery Road, delivered the papers, and when he was trying to leave, that's when he encountered them.
No, that's not how it reads. I think, Milbillie, that it reads that when he came onto Avery Road, he
saw
passed them.
He passed them?
them, and that's when he saw them pushing. And when he came back after delivering the papers, that's when he says that Bobby Dassey confronted him, in a sense, by standing in the middle of the road, or however that was. But
Okay.
to go to your question, why were they pushing it, which seems bizarre? The only thing that I can, again, accepting that this as being factually true, is that they probably felt that was the safest from a privacy point of view to get the vehicle down that road without anyone seeing it.
And
And there'd be effectively no one at the yard at all at that point.
Crime Lab states when they put the key in the ignition and turned it on, they didn't start the car, but the instruments turned on. So the battery did have juice in it. Now,
yeah,
did law enforcement find that car without a battery in it? And then they put the battery in after the fact? Like, there's so, like...
It seems unlikely to me that, given the topography of getting down the back of the yard, past the crusher and up to that high area, there's no way in the world they would have pushed that down there. Right?
Like I'm saying, how hard it'd be pushed the car? It'd be easy down Avery Road because you're running down a paved surface. But once you leave that road, just going down into the pit, you're going to get some momentum. But like I said, if that was the case, why didn't they just start the car, drive as fast as they could down Avery Road, put it in neutral, turn the car off, and they could roll right past Ma's house, and she wouldn't know nothing.
For all we know, that I think they if this is true, I think they probably did. Once they got a certain distance down Avery Road, they would have driven it to the final spot. But why they started off pushing it at the beginning of Avery Road, which is pretty much where it was when it was sighted, I think that was just to avoid, because the yard should have been empty. Why would cars be coming down there generally? I think it might have been their way of keeping it a little bit under wraps.
And I doubt Bobby Dassey would know when that paper is delivered because he lives nowhere by the mailboxes. And like I said...
Yeah, so that would be my explanation as the push. I don't understand why he didn't have allegedly have a shirt on. That doesn't seem to make sense, but who knows, right? So,
my theory about the shirt being off, maybe he took his shirt off to cover his hands when he was pushing the car.
Possibly. Yeah. Anything's possible.
I've had quite a few people ask the question, why now? Why has this guy come forward now?
Yeah, well, that's a valid question.
We understand that he got in touch with the sheriff department. They should have recordings of that, which hopefully Kathleen will get hold of to verify this phone call.
I've tried phoning the Manitowoc audio, and they don't have it. They just give you whatever they give you, which is the whatever they used in trial, because in trial they say play track 3, and what is track 3? It's the Colburn call. So
but we don't know when this gentleman made the call. Did he make it the same day? Did he make it a week later? Did he make it a month later?
Yeah, well,
we don't know that.
So. The only days we have audio for from the 3rd to the 12th.
Yeah, so he could have made the call after that time. Who knows?
That's why I was asking Dave Bagata, what day did he call? Was it after the 12th? Because if it was, we wouldn't have it at all. And Manitowoc's done in full. It's been cherry picked.
I think if there was an analysis completed on the behavior, forget the content of calls, but the behavior of calls, in other words, quantum and frequency, on the days outside of the range of these, we would see they look very different from these days. So
T1, geez.
T1. See what's on T1's foot.
I can't see the chat, unfortunately.
Oh, right. No, I've put it up on the screen there. I've got it in the screen there.
Oh, yeah, I can see
it. Back to anyone. Hello.
He surely did make that statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. No, I'm
Yeah.
just wondering when did Sawarski, is that his name? Sawarski?
Sawalski. Yeah.
Sawarski.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering when on earth would he have got you know got in touch with Kathleen? Because it
Well,
also mentions that at the time he got in touch with Steve's trial lawyers and didn't hear anything back from them.
Well, that Steve had, he does use the word trial lawyers, right?
Yeah.
Well, he only had one. Well, he only had one set of actual trial lawyers. I suppose any lawyer leading up when you're arrested, leading up to a trial, are your trial lawyers at some moment. But I'm not sure why he didn't actually name them rather than just say trial lawyers, which is an odd thing for a general person.
Well, it could be his appeal attorneys. It could be Dean and Jerry. It definitely ain't his first attorney.
Yeah,
because he called after Making a Murder was out. So you think it would be Dean and Jerry?
Anyway, to me, they're pretty simple things. They're factual matters that can be determined yay or nay. I mean, I'm sure Kathleen Zellner would have, given that she's already has a dialogue for other reasons with Dean and Jerry because of her appeal document, that she would have.
I've seen the same tweet.
I presume that she would have contacted them. I don't know, but I presume she would have. That's just about validating stuff, isn't it? So, but I guess in the absence of knowing what day he called, Manitowoc, that is, why is he coming out now, Paul, to answer your question? Who knows? But, you'll remember when Kathleen did that interview with Justice Natters.
Mm-hmm.
She spoke a lot about, well, not a lot, but she spoke about people acting long time after the event, just for a host of different reasons. Mm-hmm. And maybe the fact that reward is still out there is part of what motivates people. I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, I don't really care about that. What I care about is this factually correct, and how can it be proven in court, or how can it be proven? So to me, the proof, it's one man's assertion, so there has to be other proof to give validity to it. In other words, what are the Manitowoc police records showing? What are the so-called contact with trial lawyers saying? If you don't have that evidence, how are we going to give credibility to those statements, right? It's just, if I'm the other side, I'm going to say, oh, well, he can say anything he likes. How do we know? But my confidence comes from the fact that Kathleen Zellner is clearly extremely competent woman, both in terms of her personal approach and also her legal approach. And so I'm sure she's answered all these questions herself long before the actual setting out of this affidavit and the filing of the motion. So, but it'd be nice to know, for us to all feel what they are. But I guess maybe that's going to come.
Well, I was watching Tracy Struncey's covering this appeal brief, and she said this could add another 18 to 24 months to it.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do know, and I'm not talking out of school about this, I do know that Stephen is very happy about what's going on here. So, and for the man who actually suffers from that 18 or 24 months thing, his opinion matters. Now, I doubt whether, I'm not saying Tracy's not potentially right, not at all. But I think there's more to this than we're seeing at the moment.
Well, for sure.
Yeah. So I think time is going to be a little, we'll flesh this story out a bit more than we currently know.
I'm curious what the state is going to say.
Well, here's Milbillie, I'm going to play the devil's advocate and be the state and say, oh, okay, well, that's a statement by one person. Where's the evidence that statement is true, right? So you get the only things that would validate that statement would be, there are a few of them, allegedly identifying the man with the beard and he corroborating it. That'd be one element. One would be, because her motion is about a Brady violation. So if there is a record, if there's something on the record at the Manitowoc Police Department about a call that didn't get actually properly recorded, that would be another one. And if there was something so-called trial lawyers had a record of and said, oh, yes, we remember that gentleman ringing us at the time, and forget why they didn't do anything about it, but just say that's true. That would be also another piece of corroborating evidence. But in the absence of any of those, it's just a statement. I don't think it has much weight until you actually can show the corroboration.
Mhm.
So, and I'm not saying, I don't say that to be negative about it. I'm very positive about it. So, but I'm just saying, if you're the state, you're going to say, well, where's the evidence that proves what's being asserted is in fact true, beyond one man's statement?
I suppose then it's a case of, that does force some sort of evidentiary hearing, even if it's only on this statement.
You'd wonder, yes. Well, you'd wonder whether that's enough of itself to force a hearing, unless you can show some other supporting evidence. Because otherwise, I could make a statement and say, blah, 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 blah. It's got to have some veracity attached to it to give it some chance of moving forward. And I say that because, as I'm repeating myself, I know, but Kathleen Zoellner is no fool, to state the obvious. So my expectation is there's quite a bit more to this than we're currently seeing. So, and once again, always remembering about the presumption of innocence. So,
I mean, I suppose this is the crux of the situation here is, what does this mean now for Bobby Darcy?
Well, that's probably a question for Bobby, but
yeah.
But I can't be pleasant for him, I'm sure. So
I take it nobody is in the least bit surprised that we discover that, based on this statement, this affidavit being correct, and this guy did genuinely get in touch with the sheriff's department and they sat on it as usual. We're not surprised that it's there's somebody else assisting.
No, not me. I'm not. No.
There comes a point in the Manitowoc dispatchers start answering the phone, and people are calling in with tips, and they say, "Oh, we're not handling this case. Call Calumet," and hung up.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, to answer your question, Paul, it doesn't surprise me that there's another person assisting.
And then there's the guy that calls about Tuma Lake. He calls Queso because he don't trust Manitowoc.
Yeah.
And he reported to them first. I don't hear that audio.
Well, yeah, that whole audio thing, Milbillie, is just a disgrace, just on itself, irrespective of the content issues we're talking about. Clearly, the audio files allegedly recorded on those days were either highly edited or just I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's almost like saying, the phone didn't ring in the office that day. I mean, clearly that's just ridiculous.
The fact that we have no calls whatsoever for a number that they put on the news and in the paper.
One would have thought that the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department own telephone account, right? Ultimately they have a phone account like everyone does, would show the level of calling going on. I mean, that's the thing.
We have dispatch logs for the 4th, but we don't have any audio. We don't have any officer transmissions, no dispatch calls, nothing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that's the internal recording of those calls. What about the phone company's recording of the existence of phone calls? Yeah, if the phone company's call said that they received 1,000 phone calls, to be silly about 1,000 calls that day.
As long as Manitowoc hasn't changed their provider, and they still have the same provider that they had in 2005, they can get that information. Yes.
So that's where you will find corroborating evidence. If we say, let's just make this assertion, we say I'm going to make up the numbers, there were on average, there should have been 500 calls on a Friday, for example, to Manitowoc dispatch, but they're only reporting 50. And if you look at the telephone record for Manitowoc dispatch with, AT&T or whoever their phone provider is, they show those 500 calls actually happen. There is your corroborating evidence to the assertion that they're withholding evidence, right? Or they've deleted evidence or whatever. And why is it just those days and not for every day? So that's the sort of, I mean, maybe that's all being done. So forgive me, I don't know, but that's where that deeper research has to exist. So you can corroborate all this stuff.
Oh,
And
we're working on it. Trust me.
and Mr. Sawowski, is it Sawowski? Sorry, forgive me. If I'm him, I'm thinking, well, tell me when you made that call. You know, I mean, he may not remember, of course, but he should know. Did he make it immediately? Did he make it a week later? Did he make it? When did he make it?
Did he make it before Stephen was arrested or after?
Yeah, at least it helps narrow the credibility down. You know, so. And maybe he might like to submit to some brain fingerprinting or something just to give some other credibility to what he's saying. And I'm not saying it's not credible, so please don't read that as wrong. I'm just saying if I'm the other side, I'm going to say, well, that's just a statement of a man, right?
Yeah, you got to look at it from both sides. You're right.
Yeah. So you need to have substantial evidence to give it credibility, and
got to keep open mind.
And maybe that exists, and we're not just seeing it yet. So,
any thoughts on who this guy with the beard is and the puffy shirt?
Well, at that time of year, the puffy shirt might be just a winterized piece of clothing.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but he's obviously fairly tall, though, from the description. Tall and you know, so
taller than Bobby.
But didn't want to be seen, ducked behind this. And you know, we'd have to say, I mean, Sean Mahoney, what were you doing? Can you give an alibi for not being in Manitowoc in 2005, Sean? No.
I mean,
it could be Captain Crunch. It could be anybody, couldn't it?
Could be anybody. But if that descriptor is a real descriptor, not, in other words, it's not either improperly remembered or someone wasn't wearing a fake beard to be stupid about it, then if it's a new person in the picture, that's someone that I haven't previously heard anyone talking about, and clearly it would have to be again, accepting if what's being said true, it'd have to be some friend or colleague or someone associated with Bobby, because no one would get themselves involved in such a nefarious activity unless they were really close to someone. So I just think it's potentially the beard could have maybe even a disguise. Who knows? I don't know. I'm guessing, but I haven't heard of anyone yet in the past, at least, that might fit that description with the long white beard. But
can we rule out it's not Mike Osmondson, because Mike Osmondson is a lot younger? Am I right about that?
I'm not sure how Mike is. He sounds like younger than the guy described in the affidavit. But how tall is Mike? Is he the same height as Bobby?
6 foot. Has a beard.
He does?
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I can't even really picture Mike Osmond, and I don't really see many pictures of him.
One moment, please.
Thank you, Mr. Milbillie. That was my lead-in. So, but again, with presumption of innocence thing, I would keep adding to the story. But someone, if someone was aiding and abetting this matter, they would have to be very close to somebody. You know what I mean? You wouldn't get yourself involved in something like pushing a car down a road at the wee hours of the morning.
There's one
without any lights on, right? Can you enlarge that so we can bring it?
I'm gonna find a better one.
Yeah, it's a pretty big boy. So, but forgive me, in the affidavit, did the guy describe him as an old man, or did he just say a big man?
Late 50s or early 60s.
Oh, did he? Okay, so that's clearly not Mike. So,
pictures. Definitely not a gray beard, but
I wouldn't put it past someone who's involved in something like this to disguise themselves. So, if you think about it, what 60-year-old bearded man, if that were true, would want to get themselves tied up in something like this? So, and when you're driving down a road at night and it's dark, right, and the headlights are going in certain directions, you know, and you're not expecting anyone, it's a quick view to describe someone. But he did talk about in the affidavit that he ducked down to hide. So, yeah. Anyway, it's very speculative, but I think there is credibility in what's being said, but it has to be proven. So, and without any proof, it ends up being just a piece of stuff that rattles our heads every day. But, you know, forgive me, I know I'm repeating myself, but Kathleen Zellner is not going to do something recklessly. So
No.
There's no interest for her client, for the pursuit of truth, to be reckless or frivolous about it. So, oh yeah.
Let's pop that up.
I got to send it to my... One moment, please. It's on my phone.
Yeah.
The other one name that keeps coming up is this Edward Wayne Edwards. People say, "Oh, it's proof that it's this Eddie Wayne Edwards." I think it was established at the time that, you know, the guy was on oxygen. There's no way he could have done anything remotely similar to pushing a RAV4.
Paul, I really think that sort of stuff, unless it's got any basis in facts, it's just silly chatter, right?
It is. Well, yeah.
It'd have to have a very unique and special relationship with the main person in this to be involved. You know what I mean? It has to be at this hour of the morning, pushing a car that had the lights off, etc. This is, if it's true, it's someone known closely to the person, to Bobby Dassey, who's being named in this affidavit, if in fact it's true at all. So, well, clearly the affidavit exists, so that part of it's true, but it's a question of substantiating the issues that are contained therein.
I mean, well, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, the snow there and everything.
True. See, that's what I mean. That could easily... Someone's got a big puffy jacket, a beanie on. Anyone with a beanie on is a suspect in this case, don't you reckon? So,
do you want to pop that up again, Milbillie, and I'll go full screen on it.
There we go.
you want to pop it up again for us? We can see that picture, because yeah, I mean, I don't think it's law enforcement, because they're not allowed to have beards like that, are they, as police officers? They're expected to be clean cut, aren't they? You know, a moustache maybe, yeah, but or some.
I think it's also
Kenneth Pudson have a bit of a goatee, but I mean that's about it, isn't it? You know, they certainly don't have long beards.
You know, the other thing to keep in mind here is, and allowing me, I know I keep saying it, and I'll bore people with this, allow me the opportunity to say about presumption of innocence. If you were Bobby Dassey in this case and you were responsible for this crime, what is your motivation to bring it back to the area in which you live, right?
Well, yes.
So that's where you get this genuinely arguable position about law enforcement being involved after the fact, right? Because if I can't put myself in that position in reality, but if I'm committing a crime like this, the last thing I would want would be a body and circumstance anywhere near where I lived. Even, you know what I mean? I just don't. That's why you can always find an opportunity for, let alone the facts that we know, like key planting and all that stuff. There has to be a law enforcement play in this game here, in my view.
There has to be, because that's why I said I keep My head hurts, basically.
Yeah. There has to be a law enforcement play because it doesn't make sense unless they're involved. Let alone all the other factual aspects that we know about the lack of phone calls, the lack of release of information, the missing this, the missing that, right? Why would they be doing that unless they're not involved? So
how fucked up is fucked up. This is fucked up.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah. So, Milbillie, could you pop that picture up again of Mike Osmondson with that beard? Because that was quite creepy, as people have pointed out. That time of the morning, that.
That's from sitting out in the woods while it's sleeting and snowing.
How you determine whether it's in the darkness under a quick passing set of lights, whether someone's old or young in an outfit that's winterized, is, I think, problematic. So it potentially could be that Mike Osmondson, with due respect to him, it potentially could be. It could be me if I was dressed like that at that moment. Oh, actually, I am an old guy, so sorry, that's a bad example. But you know what I mean? It's really easy to come to conclusions about stuff like that. Especially someone with a beard, especially a wild, bushy beard, a wild sort of country beard, could be easily mistaken for being older.
Yeah, yeah. And what we hear is that he sees them as he's going in towards the yard, and then on the way back, this guy is diving behind the door, not be seen.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Okay. We've kind of touched on this.
Maybe the guy was planning to hide and hoping the guy didn't see him. Bobby Dashley was going to stop him, and then who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I think there's so many different scenarios that could take place, but I just don't understand why they'd be pushing it.
The pushing thing to me is about minimizing the likelihood that someone would see them at that hour on Avery Road when nobody should be at the salvage yard at that time.
Correct.
That's how I see that point. Even Earl doesn't live on the salvage yard, so he wouldn't be there at that hour. So
and Stephen calls Earl at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Is Earl at the salvage yard at 6:30? Milbillie? No, he's still at home, right?
The salvage yard doesn't open until 8 a.m.
Okay, yeah,
8 to
that
noon.
makes sense. Yeah. So.
And he only lives like 10 minutes from there, if that, 15 at the most, depending on which way he took.
Yeah. So that's my take so far. Watch this space.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I say, then we start looking forward to what's going to happen as a result of this. I mean, it's that been filed. It's now in the hands of Angie again, is it, or is that with Court of Appeal, and it's up for them to demand that it goes back to Angie?
Yes, I mean the motions. The motion went to the Court of Appeal to stay and remand it back to the. So stay. That basically means, as I understand it, at least, that the appeal outcome is on hold, pending the result of what the circuit court does with this matter. If the circuit court dismisses this particular element for whatever reason they might, then the appeal just continues without it. Mm-hmm. Assuming that the appeal court grants the stay and remand motion. Or if the circuit court allows it to go forward, or it'll just get added to the appeal. So the question that I guess Milbillie was putting earlier when he's talking about Tracy's session was, would this whole process, delay the what would otherwise might have been thought to be a reasonably imminent outcome for the appeal? Well, if I'm Stephen Avery and I have Kathleen Zellner representing me, and they're obviously in dialogue on a regular basis, there's got to be reason for doing this. It wouldn't be reckless just to make this even more painful for Stephen. So one would think.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
No one more than Stephen wants to get out, right? So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
and I said to you
it is all this
earlier on,
going back and forward.
and I can tell you from what I said a little while ago that Stephen is happy about what's happened.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Gentlemen, I'm not going to keep you much longer. Got to take this dog hound for another walk.
that's what the dog said about you, Paul. So
yes, he takes me for the walk. Yeah,
that's right, exactly.
But no, it's great having you to come on and have a wee chat with us. Wow, we'll just have to wait and see. You know, I mean, it is all about these. It's like being on a roller coaster, isn't it? With this case, you have nothing happen for ages, relatively speaking, and then all of a sudden this goes down. And
Silkman has a great question. Who knew that Chuck Avery was not home?
Yeah,
they drove right past his house, or I should say, pushed it right past his house.
Yep.
It's a very valid
they did
question.
Know. Yep.
They would have known no one was there.
Yep.
So definitely would have been the case.
Yep. Certainly the shirt off thing that Milbillie, in order to not put any of his DNA on it, but
yeah, I could see that possibly being the case, but I think that's a bit of a red herring, that issue. I don't think it's deserving of much thought, the shirt thing.
Right.
Well, if he said he had a red shirt on, would we be talking about it? Why? So
it comes to where are they pushing it from, and how did the two individuals get to where it was? Did they, so many questions.
I think it was driven. I think it was driven from around the back up. What's the name of that road, Milbillie? Up
Conveyor Road.
No, the one that leads up to 147.
Jambo Creek.
Jambo Creek Road. Driven up there, back, turn left again, up towards Avery Road, onto Avery Road at the beginning, and started to be pushed from there. That'd be my assessment. You just can't push a car like that sort of distance it up. There's hills and gradients, and there's no point in doing that. So they would have driven it to that point, turned off the lights, and started pushing on the road to minimize the potential of detection.
Well, I can see you pushing it into the pit, but I don't see you pushing it up that hill.
No.
By the pond.
No way. I've been down that thing. I mean, I know it's 15 years later, but I've been down that area so many times. It's a nightmare getting down and around that thing. There's cars, there's bumps, there's holes, there's God knows what down there, let alone getting it up, through the rubbish, or not the rubbish, but the trees and around the edge of the pond. And they would have driven it up there. There's no way you could push it up there. And it kind of partly explains why the car was facing the direction it was facing.
Why are Uyghur and Fastburger saying it came through the back, came through the deer camp?
I mean, let's face it. What do they really know?
Exactly.
The truth.
Well, they just want the story that fits. They just come up with stories to fit the narrative they want to create. So.
Oh, I know. They changed everybody's state. Everybody that testified in trial, for most part, was telling the truth. They were just saying that things happened on days they didn't. Like, for instance, Robert Fabian, his account of what happened on a different day, not the 31st.
Yeah, it's culpable misdirection.
It still bothers me, the green-blue issue.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it not a case of light? Under certain lights, you see the greenness of it. But
the DOT information, it's a green vehicle.
Yeah.
Why would your mom report the wrong color car? Why?
Because it is this changeable color.
Up until the car is removed from the property, it's a green vehicle until they talk to Bobby Dassey. And Pam of God is the first one to question the color. And why in December, when they take it in to retest everybody's prints, it's now a 98?
Yeah, I'm not. I can't offer an explanation. Get the car out of lockup and have it properly examined. That's the only
Evidentiary
way to
hearing.
do it.
Yeah.
That's what she
Correct.
needs, evidentiary hearing. But now with this, who knows what's going to happen now?
I'm sure we're going to hear more soon.
Kathleen Zellner. Yeah, Kathleen Zellner has always said, hasn't it? You know that even leading up to like a court hearing, she'll still be investigating. She'll still be looking into things.
Well, if I was
so-
Michael and I had nothing to do with this, I'd be calling KZ.
Yeah,
So would I.
Like, here's
Yeah.
my prints, here's my thing, test the shit, get me out of this.
yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
anyone who
If-
believes they're innocent should be doing that, right? All of them. Whether
If you're a
it's
potential
Mike-
Denny suspect, yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got nothing to hide, just talk. Go and see them, talk, give over whatever evidence is relevant. That's what they all should do. And that's why when they don't do that, they bring attention to themselves. So, yep.
Okay, gentlemen. Thanks very much, Milbillie. I'm sure it'll be about another 6 hours before we're doing another live chat. You know, just take your time in between.
Well, I'll be going live in 11 hours. Earl's
Perfect.
interview.
Yeah,
Excellent.
thanks, and thanks for all you're doing, Milbillie. Your stuff and Paul, obviously, but some of the technical aspects of what you do.
I just haver.
Some of the technical aspects that you and your team do are just fabulous, right?
Oh, and after Earl's, we're going on to Stephen Avery's November 9th interview.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's
fabulous.
very interesting what they're telling Earl. Like, I don't know. If you guys want to listen to it, it's already on my channel, but I cleaned the audio up a little bit better, and
that's good because that was hard to hear.
I removed the car ride because they basically go over the same thing during the interview when they enter the hospital. But it's the interview itself that's questioned. It happens on a day they say it didn't.
Oh, that's fascinating. What was their advantage in doing that?
Well, I don't know. That's the good question.
Yeah. But the behavior of those detectives on that interview you already have on your channel, Milbillie, was just abominable in terms of the way they turned what was effectively threatening, unrelated behavior to try to coerce Earl to agree to things or to assert things that was not even in anywhere near Earl's mind or dialogue. It was just disgusting, talking about the yard and what could happen to him in the future and all that. That was just disgraceful. So when you have people with that mindset, that tells you a lot about their motive, right? A hell of a lot about their motive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why do they keep trying to insure him? Don't worry, Steven's not coming home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
And I'm not sure. Let me see. At that stage, Earl was probably in his 30s, I think. Probably, would that be right at that time? Earl's just a young kid, really, at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a teenager.
No, the ones during those interviews, Earl.
Oh yeah,
how old
yeah.
Earl would have been in his 30s, wouldn't he? Early 30s, mid 30s. Stephen was 42 again when he got arrested, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
Rearrested. So Earl's the baby. So I would have thought he was probably in his 30s. I mean, he's a kid, scared, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, he even said, "Why were you hiding? I'm scared."
Yeah, exactly.
I'm scared.
Exactly. So it's just abominable behavior. Seriously. Oof.
But the reports, the case reports, don't match what really happened.
Yeah. No, well, nothing.
And the
about
DCI reports. Yeah, we're gonna go over it all.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, I will let you go, Mark. I realise it's quite late night for you now. Must be nearly.
I'm in Hobart, Tasmania tonight in a hotel room.
Are you really?
Yeah. So
in Hobart. Oh,
Yeah,
I'll say
that's right.
hi to the devil, the Tasmanian devil for me.
Oh yeah, Ken's down here tonight. That's the devil you need to be worried about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Milbillie, have a good one in 11 hours time. I'm trying to think that'll be
7
1 o'clock in the
p.m.
morning for me. Yeah,
Oh,
1 o'clock in the morning for me. So I might I'll catch it in the morning
all right.
tomorrow
All the
morning.
best.
Okay.
Good to
Yeah.
talk to you,
Thanks
Milbillie.
very
All the
much.
best.
For
Thanks,
sure.
Paul. All the best.
Catch you soon. Cheers,
Bye.
pal.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye for now.